The grease is a little dirty. Oh yeah. That's how you do it. Yeah. Nice. Oh. We're gonna get this rear cleaned up. Get all that nasty stuff off of there. All right, guys, it's the next day. Check it out. The back plate's looking pretty sweet. Got the asphalt on there. You can see how it just neutralized the rust. All right. Looks pretty good. Take a look at the original wheel cylinder that came off the front. It is bad. Look at how dry rotted the hose is. It's completely sealed off. I mean, there's nothing getting through there. Let's go ahead and get the drums cleaned up. All right, let's try to pop that seal out of there. Oh, that was easy. And there's a bunch of old grease down in there. Get all that cleaned up. It's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. LM looks like 4, maybe 48548 or something like that. It's hard to tell. Let's see if we see a name on here. It's pretty worn out. Look at how chewed up it is right there. And it's real brittle. We'll hit this with some brake clean real quick. There we go. There we go. Get rid of all that rust. All right, we're gonna do the same thing with the rear. We'll hit it with some brake clean, get all the grease off of it, and then we'll hit it the wire wheel and clean it again, and OSFO, let's do it. Got it cleaned up pretty good. Right, guys, there it is. Rear drum cleaned up, OSFO'd. You can see this one over here is already starting to dry out. It's looking pretty good. Well, it's recommended to let it dry for 24 hours or so. All right, guys, let's get the new brake parts on. Get this thing back on the road. Let's do it. This is the front wheel cylinder on the passenger side that we pulled out. The hose is still stuck in there. Here's the new one. So there is a difference when you're ordering. There's front left, front right, rear left, and rear right. Save your original bolts, doesn't come with them. All right, we're going to start with the wheel cylinder. Clean up our bolts. Put a little WD-40 on them. Spring on there, and you're just gonna bend that into place. There we go. Okay, now we're gonna hold this with a clamp. These clamps are great. Harbor Freight. They work really good for this. Okay. We'll do the red spring now. Goes in this top hole. And we're gonna bend this. We're just gonna slide it right on the nipple there and just bend it into place. And manipulate this little piston thing right there. There you go. All right. Okay. That's it. Boom. That's it, guys. Done. All right, guys, we're doing a complete restoration on the brakes on this 1969 F100. All new pads, wheel cylinders, hardware. We're doing that all the way around. We're gonna replace all the hard lines, all the soft lines, the master cylinder. We're gonna have to make some new lines. So we got new line here, new nickel copper coil kit, comes with all the fittings. And we also picked up this kit from Vever. This is a flare kit so that we can make double flares. Brake line press, and this is model LD74500. All right, let's get it set up on the vise and we'll see how this thing works. The vise goes right here. The handle goes here. There's a spring and a ball bearing in there. Make sure they don't fall out. Put the ball bearing in first, then the spring. Get it locked down in the jaws here. So it's a two-part process if you're doing a double flare. So double flare will start right here on 3/16. And this just sits right on here like this. And then you can move it around to your desired position. We're going to start at operation 0, and we're going to be using 3/16 die. You put your die size in here. Just want to clean that up a little bit with a deburring tool and just get any loose pieces off of there. You could use a little razor blade or a little knife. I'm not sure what the difference is with the 45 and the 37. I guess there's a slight different angle on the flare. We're going to go with 45. So make sure 45 and 45 are both on the same side on the lower piece and the top piece. We're going to slide the line in here. All right, so I loosened this up just a little bit. We're going to push that line back flush. There it goes. So now the line is flush. We'll tighten this back down. We're on operation 1, 3/16. Okay. Kind of see down in there, I did the first part of the flare. And this is a double flare, so this is part 2. And operation 2, 3/16. Pull back on this handle. There it is. There you go, you're ready to tie this in. That's nice, that looks really good. We're gonna start in the rear, and I'll show you why, because these were the worst lines. They are pretty bad. You can see there where I cut the line to install the new wheel cylinder because it was so rusty, I couldn't turn the fitting. All right, let's get these old lines off the back here. All right, you can see how rusty everything is. It's pretty bad. We're gonna need to add a little bit of line there where I cut it. Let's get this vent hose off of here. It's already cracked. Here we go. Those lines are completely seized, swelled, dried out, dry rotted. There's no fluid in there at all. Oh, there we go. All right. We got it. Look how rusty it is. All right, let's start with this small piece. Try to replicate that. And we just need to add a little bit here on the end. All right. Here's the new piece. Here's the old piece. Let's deburr it a little bit. And before you install these on the truck, you want to make sure you blow them out good. Make sure there's nothing in the line, dirt or little pieces of metal. Set it back to operation 0. That one came out good. We're going to go ahead and put our fittings on. We're going to put 2 fittings on because this is going to be closed now once we do this side. And we need our fittings on there. All right, let's do this side. Looks good. Now let's see if we can get this bent the way we need it. Hopefully it's still long enough. What's cool about this stuff is so soft you can bend it with your hand. We're gonna try to get that old line out of there. Ooh, it's crispy. All right, we got the vent hose out of there. We're gonna get a new one. This is the old brake hose, and this is the new brake hose. We're gonna take this piece and this piece under there and see how it fits. Let's do it. We'll leave that a little loose so we got a little room to play with. Let's go ahead and pull the rest of this line out of here. There's a coupler right here. I guess we'll try to disconnect it here. Let's see if we can disconnect it here, and we'll check the rest of that line. This line might be good because it's been protected under here. But this one was bad at the end down there, so let's see. Maybe we can save some of the original line. That'd be good. It came loose real easy, so all right, let's get this other piece made. All right, it's pretty close. We can fine tune it when we get it back in the truck. I'm going to cut this excess off here. Get that burr out of there. That's looking pretty good. I'm really happy with this flare tool so far. So there's a little nipple on that die right there, and it goes into that hole. But it can get off. It wiggles a little bit, so you just want to make sure that line is going in that hole nice and smooth. I went ahead and put this one in. It fits pretty good. Got to fine tune it a little bit, but it's there. All right, guys, this thing's awesome. I really like it. I also picked up their hydraulic one. I really wanted to try both and compare the two, so I've got them both here. You don't need a vise for this one, so you can hold it in your hand. You can take it over to the vehicle. You can work under the vehicle or on top of the vehicle. All right, guys, let's try this one. This thing's pretty cool. So basically, it's just a little hydraulic pump in here. Handheld. This is how you turn the hydraulic on. Right now it's off all the way to the left, counterclockwise. And we're just going to put the dies in here that we need, which are the 3/16. So we're using the 3/16, 45-degree inverted 3/16. All right. And we're going to put them in there. Now we're going to take our pipe, and it says in the instructions to line up the pipe right with the edge of that die. There's one thing I don't like about this is there's no stopper. So you kind of just have to eyeball it. But it'd be nice if there was somehow to set the depth on that pipe like there is on the other one, like Operation Zero. We need an Operation Zero on this one. But we're going to eyeball it. And we'll use my thumb and kind of feel it there. I'm going to tighten this down. And then we're going to put the die in. What'd I do with it? Here it is. 3/16, 45 inverted. The little pointy thing, male adapter, goes towards the pipe. And this needs to go right into the pipe. And you got to watch it as it's going in so it doesn't hit the edge. This little male adapter needs to go right inside the pipe. And this just slides right down in here. Like that. And then you turn this, you hand turn it until that male adapter goes in the pipe there. And you can see we're kind of hitting the edge. So I'm just going to move this over with my thumb, get it in the middle, line it up, and now you can keep going until it bottoms out. You want to make sure this is tight. Okay. So we're in. You don't need to force it, just get it nice and snug, and then turn this clockwise all the way, and then we're going to pump it. Pump it until you feel resistance, which is about, I've noticed, is about 4 or 5 times. Okay. Now we can turn this off and then back it out. And you can see stage 1. You can see stage 1 is complete. So now we'll pop that out of there. And you put in this cone adapter, and that's stage 2 for a double flare. Same process. Get it lined up in the center, nice and snug. Then we're going to turn on the hydraulic and we're going to pump 3 or 4 times. Yep, and that's it. Back it out. And we should have a double flare. Let's see what it looks like. And there it is. There it is. So the double flares that they make are just a little different. They just have a slightly different shape to them. But yeah, that looks good. And you can do single flare, double flare, bubble flare, and you can do some other stuff as well. Push connect adapter, hydro flare, transmission cooling line adapter. All right, guys, I'll leave links in the description. Go check them out. I like them both. Hopefully this helped you decide which one you want to get, or you can be like me and get both of them. All right, guys, we got this line done. It's looking pretty good. All right, let's try it. I got blue tape on the end so dirt doesn't get in there as we're shoving it down the line here. All right, that looks pretty good. Got it under the original clips there. We've got new brake lines and hoses in the rear and all the way up to the middle here. We're going to replace all the lines because there are leaks. You can see it leaking right there. It's not good. This junction box has to come out. I can't get these lines loose. They are all seized on there. So I'm going to have to cut them, and then we're going to remove that distribution box. It's being held on with a 9/16 nut. So I'm going to cut these lines. We're going to pull this distribution box out of here, and that'll be and then hopefully put it on the vise and we can get these out. Also, these are different sizes. These are 3/16, the top three, and the bottom are 7/16. I got that top right one loose, but the other ones are stripping out, so we're gonna see. Let's get this brake switch light off of here. All right, we got that valve off of there. Let's see if we can get these fittings out of here and put it in the vise. And hopefully we can get those out of there. There we go. There we go. All right, it's looking pretty good. We got it cleaned up. Let's get this line made. I really like that. It's perfect. All right, let's pop the top on that master cylinder, see how much fluid's in there. Oh yeah. There's a little bit in there, but not much. We'll just stuff a couple rags down in here. It's pretty dry and it's rusty in there. Hopefully those fittings will pop loose. We don't have to pop them loose. We're gonna make new ones, but it'll help. If not, we'll just cut them right there. Let's see what happens. First one's a 5/8. Oh, all right. Got that one. Ooh, she's rusty. The other one's a 9/16. Nope. 1/2 inch. There we go. There's a bolt holding those lines. You can kind of see the head of it right down there. Looks like a 1/2 inch. Let's get that out of there. All right, well, a few minutes later, let's just say, yeah, we had to get up in there and it was a little messy. There's been a few things leaking under there over the years, I guess. And I'm thinking for those brake lines, when they're putting it together in the factory, those brake lines go on first before the steering box and some other stuff. Because you literally have to bend the lines and get up in between there. And yeah. So I'm thinking we're going to need to take this thing completely apart to do this right. But I'm trying not to do that. I was trying to just get the brakes done and gas tank and, you know, take it for a drive. Whew. Well, all the lines are officially out, guys. This thing was pretty tough to get out. They had it mounted here, and this nut was stuck on there pretty good. So we're gonna, after I get cleaned up, we're gonna try to make these and the other couple lines and keep going. Yeah. Let's get the master cylinder out of there. Oh, she's stuck. Let's see. Yeah. I gotta get that bolt off right there. Looks like a 5/8 or 9/16. Let me get that off and then it'll come out. All right, we're getting there. Got a few more things to make. We got all the old stuff out of there. Master cylinder, all the old hoses and lines. And they were pretty rough. Probably the roughest I've seen, actually. I mean, there was leaking fluid coming out of the lines, out of the hard lines, which is pretty scary. The hoses were completely all seized up and rusted. Yeah, just a complete mess. So the truck is going to have a completely new brake system, which is pretty cool. And we're going to work on this part next. But first, I want to check out this valve here. This is actually a brake pressure differential valve, not a proportioning valve. There is a little piston in there. I went online last night and did some research on it. So this was between 1967 and 1972. All right, let's crack it open. There we go. There's a crush washer on here. Let's see if it'll slide out of there. Nope. It's seized in there. Let's see if we can force it out with some air, maybe. Oof, brake fluid. Well, it's not coming out of there. You can see the head of it in there. Let's see if we can get it out with a magnet. Nope. Try some needle nose. Yeah, I can't get on it. I think it's brass, that's why the magnet's not working. We'll put some WD in there and let it soak for a little bit. From what I understand, the block will still work. It'll still send fluid everywhere, but the light switch will come on. The brake light pressure switch will come on inside the truck. Yeah, it's not coming out. It's seized in there, but that's okay because if you look, that hole is open. The master cylinder sends fluid here and here. front reservoir and the rear reservoir. This goes to the rear brakes, and this one go to the front brakes. And those holes are open. All right, so I can't get it out of there. Maybe there's a special tool that can grab on the end of that thing. I was able to tap it down just a little bit. It did move just a little tiny bit, but you can see both ports are clear. See the flashlight through there? So that's the that top part, that's the front brakes, so it's wide open, and the rear brakes are wide open. So we're good. All right, we got this all cleaned up, put back together. This should be fine, hopefully. We gotta get these cleaned up and made, and this bolt is on there bad, so I'm gonna hit it with the wire wheel, put a little more WD-40 on there, and we got the secret weapon. Hopefully it'll knock it off of there. Let's do it. There we go. Dang. It was on there good. Let's get this clip off of here. Get these cleaned up on the wire wheel. All right, let's see if we can make these master cylinder lines. Took me a couple days, but I just figured out wire, something flexible, a piece of rope or wire or like this. A little easier to use to measure. So you can just replicate this right here real easy, and then that way you get your length. Yeah, a lot easier. All right, we're going to put the fittings on. First, we're going to flare one of these ends. Then we're going to put the fittings on, then we'll flare the other end, and then we'll shape it. Let's do it. All right, we're going to put the ends on. Just take your time, make sure you don't forget to put the ends on. All right, that one can just sit down there for now. Get this side flared. It's a lot easier to flare it when they're straight. This tool is freaking awesome. Just getting the depth set there. Operation 1. Operation 2. Make sure the holes line up. That's it. Looks good. All right, here's the tricky part. Let's see if we can shape it. Let's try to wrap it around this can. There we go. That'll work. It's not perfect. It's not exactly the same as the original, but it's close. I think it'll work. Can kind of feels like we're getting somewhere. It's been a long battle. It's been a lot of work. All right, let's put a 90 on this end. There we go. That'll work. That's perfect. Look at that. That looks awesome. All right, check it out, guys. We got the master cylinder, the new one, on the vise, and we're just test fitting the lines. Let's make sure these are lining up somewhat close. It's not perfect. It's not exactly like the factory. The lines aren't, but we're close enough. So I'm gonna get these in there. I'm gonna go install this part underneath, and we're gonna install the master cylinder, just a dry fit. We're not gonna put the rod in it yet. I just wanna make sure this will fit in there. We can tie it in loosely. Then we'll pull the master cylinder back out. We'll bleed the master cylinder, bench bleed it on the vise here, and then we'll put it back in once all these lines are lining up properly. Let's do it. Here we go. All right, master cylinder is in. Let's put the lines on it and run it down to the differential valve. Let's do it. This is one of the brackets that holds the two lines and keeps them from rattling around. And you can kind of see there where it goes. And there's a little bracket that holds the two lines together. We're not going to put them on now. We're going to get everything dry fitted, make sure the lines are connected, and then we'll connect that bracket back on there. We're going to hook up the differential valve. We're going to go under there and hook it up. I have all the inlets and outlets covered with tape so no dirt gets in there. I did the same thing with the lines. Put tape on all the lines. That way when we're running them, no dirt gets inside or on the threads. Let's go under there and hook this up. And that's why I put the tape on. Look at the dirt on there. All right. We're gonna get the distribution box in there and get it all hooked up. Let's do it. All right, guys, we got the differential block all hooked up. It's looking good. Got the line running down. We're gonna hook up the soft lines, get the master cylinder hooked up, bleed the master cylinder. Hopefully we'll get this thing bled today. That'd be awesome. Let's keep going. All right, we're getting the front hoses put on. Let's do it. All right, let's get these new hoses on. There's a little crush washer here, it goes on the end. And it's gonna go right in the back of the wheel cylinder here. There it goes. All right. All right, that looks good. Put the clip on there. Check it out. We're going to do some final fitment on the hard lines. Once everything's hooked up, everything's tightened down, we'll go under there and get everything fit just right. But right now it's feeling pretty good. All right, guys, we're going to bench bleed the master cylinder. This is the new one. This little kit that it comes with. There's the old one. Kind of see they look pretty similar. And the new one comes with 2 push rods. This is obviously the one we need. So we're going to put that in. And it's got a little boot that goes on there and some instructions for bleeding it. Let's do it. Try to get it as level as possible. Let's put the boot on and the push rod in there. There it goes. All right, we got the top off, got the push rod in, the boot on, and we're going to take these plugs out. And the directions say fill it up and let these drip. Once these start dripping consistently, then you put the plugs in there and then you start pumping the air out. Let's do that. Got some new fluid here. All right, we got fluid in there. Just waiting for it to start dripping out of here. It might take a few minutes. All right, that one's dripping. Go ahead and plug that one up. Here comes this one. All right. All right, guys, now we can pump this, get the air out of there. Bleed the master cylinder. Should see some bubbles coming out of there. Yeah, there's some bubbles coming out of there. All right, check it out. It's been about 15 minutes or so, and I think we got all the air out. Oop, nope, there was a little bit in there. Go a few more times and I think we'll be good. Oop, there's an air bubble. It looks like we're good. Let's do a couple more times. Also, I just noticed, my brother was in here, he said, this looks like it's aluminum, which is pretty cool. If that's the case, then we don't have to worry about painting it and it won't get all rusty. Let's see. I think we're good, guys. We're gonna have to open that again when we go to bleed all the brakes so we can fill it. But for now, I'm gonna keep it sealed because it's gonna be a couple days before we bleed the brakes. All right, guys, let's get this master cylinder installed. This is exciting. Oh yeah, it's looking sweet. Look at that. Man, I hope this works. All right, let's get the push rod connected. All right, the bolt is on. We're getting closer, guys. Oh yeah. It's feeling pretty good. Brake pedal. It says to push it and it should feel firm. Hopefully it does. Oh yeah, it feels real firm. It's very firm. All right, now we can hook the lines up. Here we go. Nice. Sliding right in there. We did it. All right, guys, this thing has all new brakes. I can't believe it. That was a lot of work. It's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited to bleed the brakes and take this thing for a drive. Stay tuned for the next episode. We're gonna bleed the brakes. Hopefully everything's good. Check for leaks. Put in a new fuel pump, the gas tank, and hopefully take this thing for a drive for the first time in a long time. You can tell by how rusty and nasty those brakes were. This truck's been sitting for a while, quite a while. All right, guys, stay tuned. We'll see you on the next one. Later.